Good afternoon, Nigeria. And wherever you're listening to me from, it's a pleasure to be here once again this Thursday. My name is Dayo, Omoogun, and the program, your program, The Polity, is coming to you live right now from KAFTAN Television, the Abuja station. And with me in the studio this afternoon is to my far right, Mrs. I prefer to call her Comrade, Hauwa Mustafa, a development policy analyst. You're welcome, madam.
Thank you very much.
Yep. And then in the middle, you have Ojo, that is Samuel Dunsin Ojo. He is a lecturer with the University of Abuja. He's also an e-learning enthusiast as well as a public affairs analyst. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so this afternoon we will be talking about the cabinet reshuffle of yesterday. This has been much awaited, much anticipated, in fact, people had really put some level of pressure on the president to do something about his ministers, and finally we had it yesterday. Madam, how do you rate what was done yesterday? Would you say it's commendable? Would you say it's just an average thing? I mean, on the whole, first of all?
Well, thank you very much for having me. My general, view of what has happened is nothing extraordinary.
Okay.
Nothing to clap about. Perhaps to be a bit fair and not be too negative, I'll just say that perhaps the president is one thing, either beginning to listen to Nigerians and the body language of the reality of the country in terms of what we need to do, or the president is being very smart and preparing, strategically for 2027.
How do you mean? How do you mean?
Yes, I say this because when I see some of the persons, that were brought in, I think that without prejudice to their capacity to do the job, I think much more than that, the president has been very strategic, he's been very purposeful, and that he has also looked at where certain constituency where he needs to make a foothold, some inroad, where he needs to make a presence, where he needs to be seen. And because any appointee is not just an appointee for the sake of the country, he or she is also an appointee with the expectation of certain political, gains, benefits. And so I think that, so when I see certain names, like Bianca, for instance, and the Anambra, and of course the family that she comes from, particularly the name attached to it, Ojukwu, I think with all the crisis, don't forget 2023, there wasn't much. In fact, there was barely nothing, in terms of for him, politically. And seeing that also that certain things are going to be changing, particularly in the north, it will be important for him to find a foothold in some other areas like the southeast and the south-south. So that's the way I look at it. This is not without prejudice with the fact that, yes, she is good. I mean, relatively, she has an experience that fits in to that particular...
Because I was going to say, okay, but does she fit in terms of competence? In terms of competence,
based on her experience, Right. I mean, she was once an ambassador to Ghana, once an ambassador to Spain. She was a political assistant, I think, in the Jonathan administration. So I think by and large, at least she has gathered sufficient, so to say, experience. And not to forget that she is not the main minister, she's the minister for state. So I think for me, by and large, she fits in. Into that role.
All right. So What's your take on the whole, on a general level? How do you perceive that which the president did yesterday?
The reshuffle, right? The reshuffle, personally, is more of a political calculation. It's more of political calculation in the sense that, just like my colleague has said, the president is strategically looking at places where he has deficiencies and trying to bring the very best from there in quotes that could fit into this portfolio, to that portfolio. So it is not basically on the ground of efficiency, in a way, because that's the reason I say that it's more of a political calculation, political strategy.
All right.
Oh yeah, I need an inroad here. Now, the very best will give this from this region. But that doesn't imply that the person is the perfect fit for that. So it's more like he is looking at 2027 and making a calculation, right? Using this opportunity. That's one. And considering that position, either for states or the main, we can't write out the fact that she has a very crucial impact to make. The personality fits into that. Really, we would have expected nothing political.
No, but is it then is it out of place to have someone who is competent and who has some political value?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But, you know, we're trying to make judge the situation the way it is.
All right.
You know, so there's the issue of politics and there's also the issue of competence.
Competence. Yeah.
So
if you find someone who embodies both.
Exactly. So I think in one or two persons, particularly in the case of Bianca,
right.
I think it's, you know, it meets the two criteria. There's a political reason and then there's also the competence. And again, if you see the person that she's probably also replacing from that part of the country, you know, I think this is even much more strategic for you because this personality is a more calm personality, you know, who could also is a calmer personality. This personality is somebody who also has a political history, pedigree that can add value. To his ambition for 2027.
So now you already. I wasn't going to go there originally, but now that we're there, so are you by any means suggesting that part of the reason why one or two of them was dropped was an issue about comportment? Is that what you're saying?
Obviously, I don't think going forward at this point that the president or any serious political person with any serious political ambition would want to keep, as much as possible, we want to weed away from your, you know, team anything that can possibly create some kind of embarrassment to your administration, to your political. And I think a person or two has has missed so much of the points, you know, and has constituted the necessary embarrassment, not just to the person of the president, but even to the country at large.
To the country.
Yes. So, and I think for me, if there's anything, that particular change, I think is quite commendable.
All right. Because
and if only the president can also think through, you know, in this kind of context, that anybody who is too mouthy, who is not calm, anybody who can constitute some form of embarrassment, anybody who does not seem to understand, you know, the polity and then your position and your function, you know, who does not seem to understand that there are limits to how you express and what you express, and when you make certain expressions, then I mean, this is Nigeria, this is 21st century. We don't need such a person.
All right. Against the background that she has just, the scenario she just painted, would you think, given what she just said, and I think that a lot of Nigerians also believe very deeply in that philosophy, would you say that, and I say this with a high sense of responsibility, and because I've seen such expressions in the media space, would you say that, for example, the FCT minister, the current FCT minister, Wike, falls into the description that she just made?
Yeah, number one, I want to take cue from the employer and employee relationship.
Right.
You understand? An employer has whole that he expects his employee to fill in. You understand? So in a situation where Nigerians are saying this man is this man is this, if the person fits in to the employer's prescription and the calendar, let me say the target given by the employee fits into it, what we seem to be saying might not matter. You understand? So the FCT minister, we might personally as citizens might be saying 1, 2 or 3 things. So the employer of FCT minister, either we like it or not, is the president. You understand? And he has a target.
Right.
Certainly, the man stays at the heart of Nigeria, FCT. And definitely the president can't play ignorance of all that is happening. So if the president doesn't seem to have a problem with it, so we can ascribe the fact that, possibly he's playing his game as given.
As expected by his. I think that the point must be made. I think that a lot of times when we look at these things, we look at them very in a narrow-minded perspective. Because when you say, for example, that the minister, the FCT minister, is the employee of Mr. President, that's talking in a limited form. Because ultimately, including the president himself, are supposed to be our employees.
We are the employers.
We're their employers. So if we look in that way, then it will be. I think you want to.
For some. Okay, let me just be very, direct. Let's look at the former minister, now former minister of Women Affairs.
Right.
This woman, I don't think, in terms of political value, had much to bring to the table,
right,
for the president. On the other hand, Wike might also have, has a nuisance value.
Has a huge
nuisance value. As much as as crazy, as his disposition is, as his demeanor is, and everything, he still has in his nonsense. There is some value. There is some sense.
Right.
That is some political sense.
All right. Yes.
That makes meaning to
in the right quarters.
In the right quarters.
All right.
And so for them, therefore, he is relevant.
Okay.
Because, like I said, there are 2 values here that make meaning to the president:
the political value
and the competent efficiency in driving, doing the job that drives, that gives the right name, the right focus, and the right perspective or, impression of the Tinubu government as a whole. So one is not necessarily doing anything that is adding that value, and yet you are creating a whole lot of nuisance that has become so negatively embarrassing that, we could just safely do away with you comfortably without and go to sleep with 2 eyes, not missing anything. But that, you see, if you look at the Wike, in fact, even in the Rivers politics, you can still see that this person still has some followership. You see, exactly. So his nuisance, his nonsense, has some.
And if you add to that, if I may come in, if you add to that the fact that he's also doing very greatly on his
primary assignment.
Very greatly. I don't know.
As far as you're concerned,
I don't know. I think to a large extent, he makes a lot of noise. And in the context of making so much noise and making himself so visible. Well, maybe, because honestly, Dayo, if you ask me in terms of doing greatly, I want to ask you, just tell me 2 things greatly that Wike has achieved in the FCT.
Maybe we'll come to that some other time. That's not why we're here today.
Exactly.
But I look forward to having that debate soon with you. Now, quickly, we also saw the case of, let's take 1 or 2 of them. We saw the case of, because invariably we have tried to see the mind of the president why the Minister of Women Affairs was dropped. Now, let's take a look at Tahir Maman. You are in the education sector. Do you think that, in actual fact, about 2 weeks or about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had somebody, a lecturer also in the house, who were talking about this reshuffle, cabinet reshuffle, and he did mention specifically that the education minister wasn't doing too well, even as at that time. Yeah. Now you are here, you are from the education sector. Yeah. What would you say concerning Professor Tahir Mamman's removal? Do you think it's well considered?
I think I may not have taken the statistics, but I can tell you categorically that quite a lot of academics were expecting this to happen.
We're expecting this?
Yeah. Quite a lot were expecting this to happen because it wasn't having a very good representation in terms of the impact to the Nigerian education since its inception. There were some critical moments that they were looking up to him. It wasn't really forthcoming. Really forthcoming in the sense that it was not filling the position they want him to feel. Like, you know, you have a representation of somebody like him
who also has an academic background.
So let me take for example, I'm from university education, so I will speak more of higher education. So in terms of the ASU issue and all of those things, so you definitely expect that the ASU people will have issue with him because it was not really standing and speaking for them the way they want him to. You understand?
The president just recently said that he has advanced or released 4 months out of the, I think, 8 months outstanding salary to ASU that had been pending since the period of
you understand? Courtesy who? Is it from his office? You understand my point? Now, what we're looking at...
That he's the Minister of Education, so the credit might be given to him.
Couldn't he have taken the credit?
Anyway, it's not about allocating credit. You understand? But he's allocating it rightly.
All right. So, as far as you're concerned, the perspective from his immediate, constituency is negative.
He was less representing the
people. I think that this is something that keeps repeating itself almost all the time. You find a situation where a medical doctor is Minister of Health, and this kind of situation keeps cropping up. A lot of times you find out that it is people who are not in that particular profession that are able to maybe listen and take the matters seriously. And you can mention 1, 2, 3 cases like that. And so you might just have a point. And we also had the case where he had long-standing, perennial, dragging about 18-year-olds or 16-year-olds going to school.
That's another point I wanted to say.
The constitution of university
the minimum wage and all that.
I think perhaps part of his undoing might be the fact that, and which is not just restricted to him alone. You know, many of these government appointees are very well known to make so much loud noise over nothing substantial. So we know what are the perennial problems, for instance, in the education sector, you know, from particularly at the tertiary level. The issues of the different hikes in price in school fees, you know, and all the crises that it's also brewing. Recently, we had one in Lagos, and now the most common one again, even Lagos again, you know. It's on fire. It's ongoing, you know, and some other higher institutions like that. Then you are talking about age limit, which dragged on for so long. Then we are also having the fact that ASU has also, in the past 3 months or thereabout, has been threatening to go back to go on strike. Not just
and we're not even
SANU and NASU, and we're not seeing much being done. We're not seeing much of your intervention, you know, in this context. While ASU and all these other, you know, major unions are threatening to go on strike, you are busy making noise around the age limit for entry into the university. And then while and I think probably also there is also the possibility that, like I said, there are 2 factors. There are 2 major things that the president will be very much interested in: your political value, you know, and then your competence. So even if you may give it to him that in terms of qualification he is capable or he fits in politically, how much has he done that can strengthen the necessary political value that the president requires? I think that might be.
I think that's the point.
Yes, and it will not rest on the former Minister of Education alone. I think it will also cut across many other persons that have not even been touched at all. If we begin to name names now, the question will be, what have they done? You know, where are they? Are they really in this country? Are these ministries still really existing? We're not seeing anything.
We're going to get there, because I do know that for many people there were particular ministries they thought there were going to be changes. In actual fact, if you look through social media, there are some particular ministries that have been recurrent in the analysis that this particular minister will definitely go. But we have seen that such were not affected. And except if somebody is going to tell us that Mr. President is still going to do a second batch. So now, still talking about Professor Tahir Mamman, for me personally, I think that was it was a low moment as far as I'm concerned, because he comes to the job with, a lot of credentials. But the point that we must take home also is that the credentials don't do the job. I think it's very important, because you see, we're a nation that depends on paper qualification, but a lot of times the paper does not do the job, which is exactly what has come out from, because I remember that day during his confirmation by the Senate. It was a wow session. Many of his students were senators. Many of them he had taught. Many of them, they were in law school, went to law school under, his leadership and all that. So they knew him. There was so much tremendous respect. He had helped the party also to win some cases, bringing in some very spectacular, very special, unique inputs that made APC win some of their court cases. So the whole place was in a joyous mood.
You know, he could have been very good in his primary job area of teaching, of law. Yes. He could have performed excellently.
But it's a different thing.
But it's a different thing, because coming to be a minister is both an administrative thing and a political thing.
That's correct.
And if he is unable to understand how to use his competence, his qualification, his experience in the classroom, to also make an impact, to manage the politics involved in that running that office, as well as the politics and that necessarily involved in that office, then he's not going to get it quite right. And of course, the administration, the administration of a political office. Ministerial appointments are political appointments, and when you go there, primarily you are not there necessarily as a technical expert. There are technical experts that you are going to meet there.
Yes,
you are going there as, from the political perspective, expected to bring in the political, objectives or expectations of your principal, and if you are unable to do that, your competence, your paper qualification, does not mean anything to them. Because look, in the past we have had ministers, talking about Ministry of Education, we have had some persons as ministers of education who came from a very strong, supposedly strong education pedigree that did not make
exactly
that was necessary. Did not do well, did nothing. And so it's not enough that, like you said, it's not enough, it's not sufficient that you have that that experience in your field, that qualification in your field to match it with a political appointment is not necessarily the same thing. Or the administrative ability, they're not the same thing. They're completely.
All right, now quickly, which of the ones that was dropped do you feel any pain about? Do you think, why did they do this? Is there anyone?
None for
really. I even think more should go.
Honestly, I think more should go. More should go. More should go. More should have gone. I have no particular sympathy or any kind of anger or emotional feeling about anybody that was dropped. Rather, I felt that more of those that should have been dropped were not dropped. There are many of them that are just there. We can see what they are doing. We can be very specific. I mentioned some of the ministries.
Yes, I mean, for example,
Ministry of the Blue Economy, for instance.
You think that should? You should
tell us. I mean, we should tell us what we are doing.
What have you brought?
What have you brought in? And then the way we also create these ministries. Sometimes people, perhaps blue economy is an emerging area that you need somebody who first of all needs to understand what it is all about. You just don't bring it up because there's a trend, there's a global trend in blue economy. So let's create a ministry of blue economy, and then through that at least we can give some of the boys some food to eat. But then you come in there, you don't understand what it is all about, and you're just going around and traveling and then putting papers together. So we are yet to see. In fact, all the ministers in the first day, for those ministries, particularly the new ministries, I don't know which one of them in the last 15 months or thereabouts has, or maybe 11 months or a year that they've been inaugurated, I don't know which one of them has set into motion the process of developing a policy document for that their ministry.
For example, I mean, maybe I can help you here. The culture and creative economy. I mean, that seemed to be non-existent in the last one.
We seem to have the problem of focus.
Creative economy. Every economy that you want it to progress, you want it to move, you must bring some creativity into it. Every aspect of life that you want it to move, we just create jargons, we just create words because you just have to create something. For instance, Ministry of Livestock.
Yeah, let's talk about Ministry of Livestock.
Ministry of Livestock, for goodness sake.
Let's talk about Ministry of Livestock. Don't you think that's a very important creation as of now? I mean this from this perspective. In the last how many years, we've had several crises between headsmen and the pastoralists. And so, don't you think that the creation of this ministry will bring an end to some of the conflicts that we have had?
Mr. Dayo, we are having crises in different aspects, different segments of this country. Are you going to go on creating ministry to tackle take care of every inch of every problem?
So ministry is becoming more like...
So ministry is now becoming more like just create something. Ministry of Livestock, was there not an agency or a department or somebody that was responsible for taking care of the issues of livestock? It was under the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes, but while under the Ministry of
Agriculture, what you need to do is empower the Ministry of Agriculture. You can make it you can strengthen that department of livestock. Just in the similar ways that under the Ministry of Environment, for instance, you carved out a Department of Climate Change and strengthened it so much that Department of Climate Change was, before the establishment of the National Commission of Climate Change, was the one that was responsible, overseeing mainly the issues of climate change in Nigeria. So you can also do that, strengthen that department and make it semi-autonomous from the ministry, so that it performs the function that it needs to perform. We are having problems with the flooding of our dams every year. Yeah. Are we going to create a ministry to tackle that? To tackle Ministry of Dams, to tackle the dams? We are having issues.
Maybe we can find a better nomenclature.
We are having issues with clash of herders and farmers. Okay, maybe that's what the livestock ministry is going to take care of. We are having issues with our waterways. Are we going to have a separate Ministry of Waterways? We are having issues with even specific issue of, even in agriculture, we're having issues of food security. Are we going to create a Ministry of Food Security?
We already have Ministry of Agric and Food Security.
When livestock was under Agric. Whether you called it Ministry of Agric and Livestock, it was under the ministry. So now that we have food, particularly hunger, has become a very fundamental problem in this country today that needs, that also needs a very urgent you know, attention. Are you going to create a ministry of food
separately
to take care of issues of food
with their own request of funds?
It is important that one of the things that I have seen missing in all of this exercise is the fact that the government is talking about people. We need to, these are austere times, we need to tighten our belts, we need to cut down on cost, how you use energy, how you know, and all that. The government is not showing this by example. You know what it means for each ministry, for each minister? Do you know the budget that is attached to that office?
Now let's move forward because of time.
Yes.
And viewers, I think that you can begin to call in right now. The number is 0802-993-8365, as you already know, and I'm sure it will be put on the screen right now for you, so you can use the number to call. But that will be right after this break.
My name is Sheila BCFR, the Black Comedian of the Federal Republic. I tell you, when it comes to the best of entertainment, the best of news, the best of information, something that is educative, you're right here at the best place to see that. It's KAFTANTV. You know what? Increase the volume. Keep watching. Don't touch the dial, okay?
It's your girl Nkechi Blessing Sunday. I want you all to keep watching KAFTANTV.
Please keep watching KAFTANTV. It is the best civil station in the country. They're doing an amazing job. Please do not touch the dial. Keep watching. Thank you.
My name is Sheila BCFR, the Black Comedian of the Federal Republic. I tell you, when it comes to the best of entertainment, the best.
In the beginning, God created a beautiful world.
3, 2, 1. Action.
And that's why at KAFTAN Television,
we imagine a beautiful world.
We are not just bragging.
we blaze the trail in broadcasting. And it is about you.
At KAFTANTV, broadcasting is not just about information, education, and entertainment.
It's an aggregation of all you need to know in Nigeria
and around the world to create signal.
At KAFTAN Television, we have all it takes to be on top in broadcasting.
Our mission is simple: to project Africa in a truthful yet positive manner.
Wait, we're coming to you in style.
Here we are, starting from September.
Have a look at what the facts are.
And as you say on KAFTAN TV, imagine a beautiful world.
Welcome back. Now, dear viewers, you can call onto the show right now. The number remains 08029938365. Please do well to put down the volume of your TV set and move away from your set before you call in. We may not have the luxury of time to be trying to correct that. Once your call does not meet that standard, you'll be yanked off. I hope that we all agree so that we can make the most of the little time that we have. Right now, Mr. Ojo, the Niger Delta, the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs has been replaced with the Ministry of Regional Development to coordinate all the new recently created development commissions. How do you receive that?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. But my position on that, I think personally the merger was more going to be negative in a way. That's my personal opinion. I think it is unnecessary.
All right.
Niger Delta as a ministry, they have their blueprints, they have their targets, they have their objectives set before them. So I think the ministry should have stood.
Okay.
That's one. Number two, so in addition to that, if the target is to have a ministerial coordination, you want to have a ministry that coordinates 1, 2, 3 or 4 ministries, I don't think it's by merging. There are other ways to have gone about it, just like I just said, fortifying these ministries to do X, Y, Z. If there are additional responsibilities you want them to do, allocate that to them rather than creating a ministry or merging. That's Niger Delta Ministry. If you agree with me, the ministry is serving a purpose. It's serving a purpose to that region.
Yeah, that's correct.
You understand?
Incidentally, I'm sorry, but incidentally, the NDDC does not even cover just one region. Ondo State is part of NDDC. And that's in the west. And then you have states in the south as part of it. And you have Imo, for example, in the southeast as part of it. Now, so when you begin to equate that with the other regional ministry, then there's a problem. I think that government is still going to have to do some work on that. I think that the homework was not concluded before.
What I want to understand, we had a Ministry of Niger Delta.
Yes.
Then we had the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Just a moment. Let's see if we can allow this. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good afternoon, the two guests in the studio.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You are speaking to Shamaki from Abon and Nasarawa State.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, on the issue of reshuffles of cabinet. To me, I'm not happy because the two former ministers that were sacked, Women Affairs and Education, these two persons work tirelessly for the contribution and development of this very country, most especially the Women Affairs. With a scene where she is responding to matters that come before her table. But surprisingly, when President came back, we are expecting to see the people that we are not seeing them functioning. But suddenly she went and sacked those two man and that woman. I am not happy.
All right.
With the cabinet or no cabinet, that is not the problem. The problem of Mr. President should go back and reduce the whole price of fuel.
All right.
Ministers are not the ones that bring all these problems that we're into in this country as far as Nigeria is concerned.
All right, Shamaki, thank you so much. Now, so, you were?
Yeah, so we had a ministry for Niger Delta. Then we had the Niger Delta Development Commission. Now, for me, going back, the essence of the Niger Delta Commission, which was the first regional commission that we had, and like you rightly said, it covered, across the south and some parts of the southwest, as well as some parts of the southeast. And the idea of it was very germane, and it's still very germane. But unfortunately, the way we play politics in this country, the issue of Niger Delta was about the issue of oil exploration and oil pollution, and the way it was affecting lives, property, and livelihoods, which was very, very significant, very, very critical. And so the idea was that you needed a special agency, a special vehicle to provide the special needs for this critical or special situation. Because the way, for instance, if you have been to Bayelsa State, for instance, Delta State and River State, you will see that what it will take you, for instance, to construct a 1 kilometer of road in a place like, say, Kaduna, that is a dry land, is probably you will probably need 5 times or more of that same amount to do the same, to get that done in the Niger Delta. Plus the fact that there had become, over the years, the pollution and the way it had affected lives and property and livelihood has also led to a lot of restiveness, especially, restlessness of the youth. And so there was a need to provide a special attention. Now, coming forward, then you now have a situation where some persons now think that it is politics. Why should you give them this much? So okay, there is some crisis in the northeast, Boko Haram too has been, doing a lot of havoc. So, because after the Niger Delta Commission, the next one that came in terms of regional commission was the Northeast Development Commission. And then suddenly it became... okay, you people, you have your own, we too, we have our own. So it was not longer about providing solutions to a critical problem. A critical special problem. Yes, the Boko Haram and insurgency in the northeast is not something that I want to wash under the carpet. At the same time, you also have that. There are existing, agencies to deal with those problems. And what you needed to do was further empower, just further deepen the strength of these existing agencies to deal with those problems, but not compare them and make them look like the same thing. They're not necessarily, and I think it is that politics that led to this division or creation of this to serve everybody, that probably the president is looking at, and they are not really doing anything. Unfortunately, even the Niger Delta Commission, he's not doing anything. So merge them. Yes, so merge them. So much has been pumped into that. So much has been pumped in, and so little has come out of what has been the much that has gone in. So you may just probably put them together. But so and unfortunately, quite sad that what the objective of the Niger Delta Commission originally was not being met. We are all witnesses to all the thefts, the kleptocracy that has been going on around there. So, and then the fact that you still go to these regions, you don't see anything on the ground. The situation
remember the popular off your mic.
Of course, and the fainting palaver, and all that, and all the stories. Even the current president of the Senate, is involved in the scandals and the corruption of the Niger Delta.
So that's the fainting with us.
Exactly, and so you have not dealt with it. So these things have just become a kind of a drain pipe, financial drain pipe. And so if the president probably in his own wisdom feels that, look, all these agencies, you are not even meeting the objectives for which you are even expected, in spite of the fact that a lot of politicization has also gone into the establishment of some of the follow-up commissions. They merge them together. There's no problem with that. I don't see any problem with that. When you merge them together in that big one ministry, you can have the several departments. You can have your department of Southeast, department of Northeast, and whatever department
there's still going to be a problem. Because in that case, wouldn't it look like duplication if you already have NDDC tackling issues that have to do with Ondo and with the South states, and then with Imo and belonging to the Niger Delta, and then you now have SEDC. Is that already in existence? Southeast Development Commission.
I think that has also therefore all been merged into one ministry now.
No, but they are still going to have to. Are you saying that they will shut them down to be under the ministry? The ministry is coordinating. The ministry is
coordinating. Yes.
So if I may add this, it is not all about creating these ministries. The problem is accountability. What is the blueprint you are giving these guys? Okay, you have a ministry. What are they expected to do? What are the things? Create boxes that they must tick over time and do a continuous review of all of these things. Some of these ministries, they might in the recess be relevant if we look at their blueprints. So what do we need? Hold some people accountable, just like you said. If we go to look through the budgetary allocation, these commissions, these ministries are gotten from the country yearly. They are not something that we can just look away from. But the fact is that, what have you been able to do? Are you meeting up with the target? Then if you are not meeting up with the target, to an extent, it is not, the problem is not merging them, because the problem we have, while they are inefficient standing alone, we are still going to have same after merging them.
Remember, we have a position. There's the position of this woman that was formerly with in Lagos with the under the ministry of the maritime. What's her name? Bala Usman.
Okay, yeah. Hadiza Bala
Usman,
Nigerian Ports Authority.
Thank you. Now, Hadiza Bala Usman's initial, job portfolio was an assessment. Part of it was to assess.
That's her role.
That is her role, to access the functioning of these ministries, and the ministries particularly. And I remember very well that one of the first early interviews she gave, after her appointment, was that there was going to be a scorecard. There was going to be a template of performance, and at the end of the day there was going to be a scorecard, and if you were not performing according to the template given to you, then you were going to. So
I think to a large extent, yes, it's on the basis of that scorecard which she is sits. I mean,
which is implementing.
That has been.
So if that is the case, but it is also important that if the government made this appointment to her on the basis of this is what her function should be, we should also be able to check and be sure that she's actually performing accordingly. Transparency, by also letting the people to know that, look, having said
these are the yardsticks. And this is how this person performs.
Exactly. So
we're talking about transparency.
So it is not enough to say that, okay, because there is an office that was, designed to do an assessment, a performance performance appraisal of these ministries. On the basis of that, we found these 5 ministries wanting.
Because don't forget
let us see how did you do the appraisal. Yes, how did you do this appraisal? Yes, what was the template of appraisal? What was the criteria you used for the assessment? How did you score? The different
how objective.
So bring this out, and then we'll say that.
I think that's very critical. That's very critical.
You did this right, or you didn't do it right. Otherwise, this whole thing is just political.
So we need to talk now about women issues. Representation. How do you feel concerning this
representation in the
representation?
It's very sad. It's very sad that as we are moving forward into a more civilized, supposedly more civilized, global world, we seem to be taking some steps backward.
Would you allow me?
In terms of?
I hope you don't mind. Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
I am Jonathan. I'm calling from Ubiaja.
All right. Welcome. Bojaye.
I don't see anything the government of Tinubu is doing that is helping to resolve the problems they have put us into this country. Reshuffling of cabinet will not solve the problems we have here in this country.
You think so?
As a matter of fact, the lady amongst you, with what she said about making all these ministries departmental, is better. And one thing I see with us Nigerians is that when we find ourselves in a position, we see it as an opportunity to enrich ourselves, which is very, very bad. It's very, very bad. As a matter of fact, what this country has, the countries our leaders run to go and relax, they don't have them. But with good management and governance, they are able to put their countries in a position that is attracting people to go there. In my days in school, like the school I attended in Plateau State, Kefi, Government Teachers College, KEFI. The teachers we had, the white teachers we had there were more than the black teachers because this country was good. We have people with human heart ruling us at that present time. It's unfortunate that people we have in power today are no human beings, as far as I'm concerned.
You need to quickly round up, please.
They don't have any good thing. No welfare for the people they are ruling. Their purpose of coming to power is to come and enrich themselves. Imagine, if you look at the number of ministries we have in this country, what are their functions?
Yeah.
What are their functions? I've not seen anything that all these ministers of all these ministries are doing to better the state of the country. Look at the education minister.
We don't have all the time. We need to let you go.
Please, let me just say this and then you cut me off.
Please, as much as possible. 10 seconds.
Education. Tahir.
Yes.
Mama has been removed because of what he said concerning the state of education as far as this country is concerned. As a matter of fact, most of their children, they run to other countries, they pack them to other countries to go to school there. Letting our schools to die here, which is not the best.
All right.
So the reshuffling of cabinet, I don't see anything that they're only using to compensate those of them who are in their support as APC members. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Now, so we're talking about the issue of gender representation.
I say it's quite unfortunate that as the world is progressing, as the civilization is moving, we seem to be taking not just 2 steps backward, we're taking many steps backward in terms of development, because there's no development today. Development is defined as an inclusive, based on inclusivity. You cannot have inclusivity if you don't have the women folk as part of the process of decision making. And so you have this whole, first of all, in the area of election. I mean, look at what we have in the National Assembly. Very embarrassing, very disgraceful. Nigeria has the least amongst the major countries, female representation in parliament, one of the least in Africa. You know, I mean, compared to countries like even Kenya, look at countries like what Rwanda is doing, almost 50%. Look at what South Africa is doing, and so on and so forth. And then we are moving backward. It's not as if we don't have competent people. Now, to compensate, even in the areas, you know, outside electoral areas. Now, in appointive positions, where you don't need competition, you know, where the president, you know, with a woman, with a wife, like, a first lady with a wife that has come out to show a lot of strength politically and administratively, that you are not even able to influence and make sure that at least we have 30% or 35% representation of women in your cabinet. It's a shame. It's quite a shame, and that shame is not just to the country, it's not just to the president, it's a bigger shame even to the first lady herself, Remi Tinubu, because all that she stands for as a woman, all that she stands for as a female political giant and voice, and all that she stood for as a woman in the National Assembly, has come to become has become rubbish if you cannot influence and ensure that at least we have 30% representation, you know, in appointment. And this is not to say that we don't have women that have the capacity. Of course, much more than even the men that male capacity. But we are not seeing that.
Here goes the debate again that whatever a man can do, a woman can do better. Not just do, but do better. That's not why we're here, Aja.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, but as we begin to round up now, in just 1 minute, take a look at the entire spectrum of our discussions and maybe give a word of counsel to the new team. What should we be doing? Maybe in 1 or 2 places. What exactly do you expect, for example, in the education, with the education minister? What do you expect with maybe all of them? For example, you talked about comportment. I think that's very key, because if somebody becomes a negative value, then it's a challenge. What do you have to say in just a minute?
Yeah, very quickly. Education ministry, you need to go down and sit down with the critical stakeholders in the education sector to resolve the pending issues. You know, the pending issues that are creating crisis in the education sector. Resolve it, make it a priority. For the state, for the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, I think it's very important because we know that our area of jurisdiction is West Africa and Africa generally. You need to go back, and particularly within the context of making sure that our foreign affairs, it's very important. Our foreign policy, you know, drives our development and our trade policy. Particularly, I'm look at what is going on in Africa today. Trade, where are we? The AFCFTA, for instance, where is Nigeria? You need to sit down with your counterpart in the Ministry of Trade and Industry to ensure that, you know, Nigeria's position in West Africa and Africa, even in ECOWAS and in the AU, is fortified, is strengthened, and that our honor as Nigerians is really brought back. And I think finally, the other ministry, for me, these are the two main ministries, key ministries that I think I have interest in. The Ministry of Trade and Industry, again, you know, Jumoke, I think that's fantastic. That's a fantastic, round peg in a round hole. And I hope so. No, in terms of her pedigree, in terms of her qualification, in terms of where she's coming from, in terms of where she's coming from, we are hoping that she's going to keep up to that record that she has built over the years. And that's what we want to see, you know, from that ministry is when we talk about investment, from local to international, you know, we want to see how she works with other necessary agencies in Nigeria to facilitate local production, you know, so that when we have sufficient local production, then we can begin to talk about trade. What do we need to trade with our immediate neighbors, and how can we use that trade, you know, to address the question of poverty and underdevelopment in Nigeria?
Thank you, Comrade. Like I said, I prefer to call you Comrade. Now, in 1 minute also, what is your last line?
I will start first with my strength, which is education. Yeah, the new ministers and the new appointees, they are expected to go back to the drawing board. What were the things done wrong? They should start from there. Just like she said, sit down with the stakeholders. Know what the problems are. It is not a time for you to start formulating policies that are not far-reaching in terms of problem solving. That's one. Number two, we have according to UNESCO statistics data, we have close to 15 million Nigerian children out of school. That's one of the highest in the world. What is the education ministry doing about that? You understand? There are lots of problems rather than, and also the new ministers, they should do more inside than talking outside. They should mash up the energy inside much more than the media. You understand? It seems to me that majority of these ministries, they are much more interested in talking than doing some things inside. Just like it was noted, the FCT minister, you talk this, you talk that. We want to see, let your work speak first. You know, Nigerians, we are not blind. We are seeing things you're doing. You understand? And the transparency comes in. There is nothing that says that we shouldn't see what are the blueprints, what are expected of you to do. Let's see. So on that note, we'll be able to judge you. Okay, how far have you gone? Because this cabinet reshufflement and all of that is going on, they are not things that are new to us. If your solutions are solutions that people feel, Nigerians will talk. That we can point at some ministries that, no, you can't touch that minister. You can't touch that minister. Why? Because we are seeing what they are doing. You understand? Right. So the ministers, the new ones and the old ones, they should go back. They should match the energy of talking with the energy of doing. That's one. And as for the education ministers, sit down with the stakeholders. Right. Solve problem before formulating new policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will need to leave it here now. Incidentally, I was unable to do this for our very regular list viewers. We started quite late today. I apologize for that, and you can be sure that it will not repeat. Thank you for being there, and God bless. Tomorrow is another day. Please stay tuned to the Polity. It's 2 o'clock every working day. Thank you for being there. My name remains Dayo, Omoogun, and we're out right now.